Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Susanna.
Hi, Susanna.
Hey.
Hello.
In quick order of business. Oyeyemi, are you going to be able to do the closing, the final thoughts, recap next steps?
That's okay. I can do that. It's on the slides, right?
Perfect. Yeah, there's a slide. Thank you.
Okay.
Should we give folks another minute or two?
I think we can do 5 minutes because I see the number is still small.
Okay. We're just giving folks a few minutes to join. I would suggest that we get started. Margaret, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to, as the case may be. Welcome to the post IG19 webinar. And thank you, Susanna and the team from GHV for facilitating this convening. So I welcome all of us to this meeting. And I am delighted that we are able to come together. And thank you for coming into this webinar. And it shows your commitment, to be able to advance the role of CSOs and
faire progresser le rôle.
The Global Financing Facilities Mission. And so today we have a valuable opportunity, I must say, to hear firsthand from our civil society and our youth representatives who attended the 19th GFF Investors Group meeting in Abuja. And their insights will definitely help us all to better understand the key outcomes of the meeting and how they impact our collective efforts to improve health outcomes globally, particularly for women, children, and adolescents. And so my name is Margaret Lubale. I'm an IG rep, and I'm pleased to take us through the agenda for today. I'm an alternate, rather, coming to you all the way from Kenya. So as we gather today, we want to focus on some of the critical items. And some of the items include the support for civil society and youth engagement. So we'll be talking about that, what came out of the IG meeting. We'll also talk about the private sector engagement, what was spoken, and also the need to develop the next GFF strategy, as well as coming up with a way forward. And the things that we are discussing today, the topics are really central, in terms of shaping our own direction and our voice as we continue to be a cornerstone to the work of GFF. And so as we begin, I also encourage you to take a moment, and I hope that you reviewed the GFF statement from the IG19 for additional context as we delve into our discussions. So once again, thank you for joining us. And I know that we will have a productive and impactful meeting. In case you are new to our forum, or you may not know, I wish to reintroduce the IG reps, and they will be speaking, so you will get a chance to see and to hear from most of them. Oyeyemi Pitan is a CSO rep, IG rep, and she based in Nigeria. Jackie Katana is also a CSO rep, and she's based in Uganda. Faniri Hantanrinivo is an alternate, but she is indisposed and so may not join us. And Kenneth Prudential as well is a youth rep, and unfortunately he's also indisposed. And we wish both Faniri and Kenneth speedy recovery so that they can join us in the next meeting. We do have Chedu Moyo, who will represent the youth rep in his absence, and she comes to us all the way from Zimbabwe. So that is the team of the IG reps, and we welcome them all. And I encourage that each of them puts on their video for a minute so that you are able to see them, and then because of bandwidth issues, they can put off their video. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage us all to participate, share your insights, and bring your unique perspectives to the discussions. Please raise your hand or write on the chat box, and we will ensure that your questions, clarifications are responded to. I also want to let you know that translation is available. Please choose the channel to listen to as we continue, so that we don't leave anyone behind. I also then want to say thank you once more also to the GFF team. The Secretariat is here with us, and so I know that we are going to have a very engaging session because they do have information to share with us as well. Welcome to the Secretariat. And so now I hand over to Oyeyemi Pitan to be able to give us a readout from the IG meeting that was held in Abuja. Welcome, Oyeyemi. And before you do that, let me just say, I think I've run through the agenda, so I don't need to go over it. So now we give the chance to Oyeyemi Pitan. Please take it away, Oyeyemi. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Can you hear me, everyone? So I'm just going to open my video for a very short while so I can see my face. Okay, awesome. Okay. Thank you, Margaret, for that beautiful overview and introduction. I'm so glad that we are having the post-IG. I want to thank everyone for joining in. And as Margaret said, I'm sure we are going to have a very productive meeting today. And so just straight to the point, I had the opportunity to welcome all the IG reps, civil society organizations in Nigeria. So they had the opportunity of eating the Nigerian jollof rice. And I'm sure you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, so 5th to 7th of November, the 19th GFF Investors Group meeting actually took place, as well as the Trust Fund Committee meeting took place here in Abuja. And one of the highlights is the fact that we had the opportunity of welcoming the Minister of Health of Malawi, for Malawi, into the IG, as she was inaugurated as the co-host of the Investors Group. And another news is also the fact that the Honorable Austin Dembi, Minister of Health for Sierra Leone, is also the chair of the ministerial network for GFF. And so I think that's actually one of the beautiful highlights of the IG meeting that we had in November. Next slide, please. And so Malawi, we had the opportunity of taking pictures with you and also having very beautiful conversation with your Minister of Health. Next slide. Okay, so before the IG proper, we had the opportunity of going into the facilities in Nigeria as a showcase of before this. Okay, I think I'll just run through my own slides. So before this is the fact that in Nigeria, we had the opportunity to have different knowledge cafes. So there was one on basic healthcare provision fund. There's another one on adolescent nutrition and sexual and reproductive health and rights. There's also another one on private sector engagement, as well as CSO engagement, advocacy, and service delivery. So these were running concurrently, and civil society organizations in Nigeria also had the opportunity to showcase how they were engaging governments, advocating for better service delivery, as well as more domestic resource mobilization. And we also had the opportunity to go site visiting. And so we had the opportunity to go to 2 facilities, one in Kuchingoro Primary Health Care Center, to showcase the support of GFF, right? And so these are 2 facilities. One of them is one of the primary healthcare center that was supported, and it is now a very comprehensive primary healthcare center. If you get to the healthcare center, at least you have the basic healthcare services being rendered at these facilities. And so the IG had the opportunity to visit those ones. The next thing, the next slide, is the fact that the ministerial network had the opportunity to also have their meeting. So during the IG, they had high-level meeting, and we had Nigeria represented, Sierra Leone, Malawi, Burkina Faso, Liberia, Central African Republic, Senegal, and Tanzania at that meeting, the ministerial network meeting. And, their focus is actually to strengthening country voices across the GFF global process and policy agendas. They are also, they actually also renewed their commitments to ensure that they promote coordination in their countries as well as alignment. Then the chair of the ministerial network definitely will sit on the TFC, that's the Trust Fund Committee, alongside other donors and the IG co-chair. Next slide. So these are the highlights of the meeting. So we had the stock taking, and during the stock taking session, we were taking through all the key performance indicators. Of course, most of these documents were shared for us to actually go through them. And so, yes, if you went through them, you would see that there was stock taken as to how far GFF had progressed over the years, and recognizing that there still needs to accelerate efforts on gender equity. Another one is also on alignment. And so with alignment, it's talking about how global health initiatives are to work and support countries to ensure that it's no more business as usual, but they are aligning with country health priorities. And of course, promoting country and government leadership when it comes to alignment. And so that was also done. Another one is the guidance on the initial findings from the GFF independent evaluation. So remember that there was a GFF evaluation steering committee that was inaugurated, right, last year. IG meeting that we had, and of course a whole lot had gone all through that time through this point, and so they have been back to back. I've been giving updates as to the evaluation, and so we also looked at the reports, the initial report that was shared, and there was feedback was given on how to maximize the impact and the process for the development of the next GFF strategy. So it is anticipated that the findings of this evaluation would also influence the next GFF strategy. The next one is the civil society and youth engagement. Of course, this is our own, right? And so we had the opportunity to listen to our very strong and vocal CSO reps who were the chair of that working group. And they actually did a very good job. And so they express strong support for the agenda and encourage JFF to ensure alignment of efforts and to identify complementary ways of working with other partners. Then the next one is the GFS initial. Okay, so there's another one about the health system strengthening framework for RAMCA plus N. That's the reproductive, maternal, newborn child, adolescent health and nutrition. And so the secretariat would actually give for that framework. So there's a framework on health system strengthening that has been developed, and GFF is looking to sharing this framework to countries to influence the process and the way in which they are supporting countries, which is actually a very beautiful one, because of course, if the health system is strengthened enough to be resilient and to be able to deliver across this RAMCAS plus N services, then we will be very closer to, to universal health coverage and to ensuring that we deliver quality and accessible health care for everyone. So this is what it is when it comes to the health system strengthening. Another one is the private sector engagement. And so this was for endorsement. And of course, we gave our feedback alongside other partners that were in the other IG reps that were in the room to say, yes, it's okay to partner with private sector. Of course, it's definitely inevitable that you will have to partner with private sector, but we had to tread carefully. And so we actually shared our reservation and how we feel that the private sector engagement should go in terms of ensuring that it's for public good. And at the end of the day, we'll leave no one behind. And then the services are affordable and accessible. So I think this is like an overview of what happened at the investors group. I think I will leave the rest of what happened during the trust fund committee to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oyeyemi. Please keep your questions. We'll have a Q&A, but you can also put them on the chat box. I now want to invite Cheryl, who will be able to give us an overview of to share some of the TFC outcomes and some of her insights based on, her role within the Secretariat. Cheryl, welcome.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And thank you, Oyeyemi, for the overview. I am just trying to connect on my phone as I was having a bit of a tech issue. Can you? Okay, I will take that as a yes, you can see me okay. So colleagues, thank you so much for having the Secretariat join. We're very happy to be with you all this morning, this afternoon, this evening. And thank you, Margaret and Oyeyemi, for the overview and global health visions. Before we go through some of the TFC decisions, I just wanted to ask my colleagues to please introduce themselves who are also on the line. So Stephanie, over to you, and then Vincent.
Sure. Thanks, Cheryl. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Salisbury. I'm Partnership Specialist with the Secretariat based in DC. I work under Cheryl's team in External Relations, and I work very closely with Vincent on the CSO and Youth Agenda for the GFF. I know many of you already, but for those who are new, really great to have you join. And again, we're your liaisons from the Secretariat, so if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. Vincent, over to you.
Bonjour. Hello, everyone. So good to see familiar names and faces here. So very pleased to join you today for this very important exchange and meeting. So I'm very pleased to first of all share with you exciting outcomes from the recent IG meeting, and really looking forward to a really lively and engaging discussion. So Cheryl, back to you, if that makes sense.
Great, thank you. So we'll go quickly through the outcomes because we want to have as much time for discussion as possible. So on the outcomes from the TFC, there were a number, and this is an important point for us, is that the investors group this session was really well mapped to the TFC. So you had a lot of advice coming from the IG directly into the TFC. So I'll just start by echoing what was said already. We did have the occasion at the investors group to welcome our new minister co-chair, the Minister of Health from Malawi. And we also had the opportunity to welcome our new chair of the ministerial network, Minister Dembi from Sierra Leone. And this was it was really great to be able to welcome them. And particularly, and I think as it's been said in the chat, the implication here that we now have 2 ministers in the TFC, which is really great news for us and really in line with the overall model of the GFF in terms of the country leadership. So we're just thrilled to be able to share that with you, and that we were able to have that in Abuja and moving forward. Maybe also just to mention that as part of naming a chair for the ministerial network, it also means that we're really revitalizing and strengthening that network, including some support from the Secretariat to the ministerial network to make sure that they're able to have an active role throughout the year, not just at the meetings. So with that, I will just quickly go through some of the TFC outcomes, and happy to have a discussion on any of these. So we'll go quickly through just to say, so there was the first point is, this is about the scenarios that were considered by the Secretariat after the Deliver the Future campaign, and how really specifically around how the grants to countries were decided in terms of the allotment. So that was a discussion with the TFC. They had asked for additional information and it was provided. I'm going to come back to the CSO envelope, and I'm going to just, because I think we can spend a bit more time there. So I'll just quickly go through the other items. The liaison officer role, this also relates to the civil society work, in that it's an opportunity to also look at the role of the liaison officer in country, and including around the engagement with civil society and looking at that scope of work. So just want to mention that also for colleagues on the line. Then there was there was a further discussion about one particular instance, which it's still early days to go into detail, and there's not too much more to say, as the decision there was to provide additional information. And then on the strategy development process, we'll have an opportunity to discuss that further. We actually had a follow-up call with the TFC principals earlier this week, so we can discuss that. But back on the CSO engagement. So first, just to say a huge thank you to all of you, because I know that the CSO, we had a working group that was co-chaired by Jackie and Chedu, but we benefited from the expertise, results, and interest of all of you. So, and this was really where we were able to look at what has happened in the past, what is working well, where do we want to pivot. So what we heard loud and clear, and the feedback has been consistent in terms of making sure that we are providing enough granting that's commensurate with the type of results that we all want to see, that the duration of the granting is long enough to also be able to be commensurate with those results. And then the other thing that emerged was making sure that we have the right connectivity with the World Bank and GFF co-finance project and the country platform. So those were a lot of what we looked at. And then happy to share the news that there is this $18 million envelope that we have now approved, which is a substantial increase from the previous allocation. And just to say some of the details in terms of what that looks like, we have spoken about this will be through a platform that's sitting closer to the World Bank. There's a lot of details to still discuss in terms of the operationalization, but we also needed the envelope approved to understand also the magnitude that the donors and partners were in agreement with. So we're thrilled to be able to share this, fully realizing there will be a lot of questions, some of which we will not be able to answer, but we will try and answer as many as we can, and including with the timeline of next steps. And we will also have a meeting with the task force in the new year to pick up on some of the decision points as well. So maybe on the CSO envelope, I'll pause there. We can go to the next slide, which is more on the strategy process, and then save questions for the discussion, if that's okay. So this is a lot of text on one slide. It's not necessarily that you need to read all of this. It is just to show you the indicative process and timeline for the new GFF strategy. So as many of you will know, we have an independent evaluation that's being carried out now and will be finalized early in the new year. With that, it will be a really important input into the next GFF strategy. And we are already starting to look at when and how will be those modalities for engaging and making sure that we have the feedback from all of our stakeholders, including all of you here. So you'll see that in this current timeline, the February and March, and then it's around in the early fall will be important opportunities to engage. And we will come with a more specific plan in the new year in terms of what that looks like and exactly when. And GHV will help us making sure that we have all of your voices and inputs captured into this strategy. So just wanted to mention that so you have line of sight of what's to come. Of course, this is a really important, this is for the 26 to 2030 strategy. So it's a really important opportunity. We also are really looking here at the integration of CSOs into the strategy rather than having a separate CSO strategy and a separate GFF strategy, really looking to bring those pieces closer to ensure that we have as much joined up efforts as possible, while of course maintaining the neutrality as the GFF and the World Bank. But maybe I can stop there and hand it back to Margaret. And happy.
Okay, all right. I think, I don't know what the network, don't know whether it's my network. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, super. Thank you, Cheryl. We definitely will come back to you. And we will listen to the presentation by Jackie and Chedu. And so I would ask that we all hold our questions or write them on the chat box so that Cheryl and her team could answer. To respond. And I think she has put a disclaimer that she may not be able to answer all, but definitely we will take whatever you have at this point. I know there are so many discussions going on, and so we will appreciate whatever responses you can give us. So please hang in there with your questions. As soon as we listen to Jackie and Chedu, we will be able to come back to the question and answer session, beginning with the GFF Secretariat, so that we can release them after that. So Jackie, please take the stage. Thank you, Jackie and Chedu.
Thank you so much, Margaret and everyone. I'll invite Chedu. Are you able to start?
Yes, Jackie. Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you so much, Margaret, and the previous speakers, Cheryl. I think it has already been mentioned that the GFF Trust Fund Committee has approved a total of 18 million for civic society and youth engagement, and 2/3 of this funding is going to be used to provide grants for civic society and youth in countries. And I think the other important thing to note is that the other priority is to expand support from the previously supported 28 countries to a total of all the 36 GFF countries. And the 18 million envelope is going to firstly support our grant making and technical assistance mechanism. So it's not, the whole 18 million is not only for grants, but it supports also technical assistance mechanism. So we're going to be talking about coalition strengthening, civic society and youth advocacy accountability in countries, and expanding to all that 36 countries, and also just to strengthen the capacity of civil society and youth. Maybe also looking at the research that was done with the previous granting process. I think most people highlighted that we may need a bit of technical assistance. And also the second use of the 18 million envelope is going to be for the global coordinating mechanism, so that we speak with one voice. Remember, the GFF, it may be in different countries, but we still need sort of global coordination, so that at the end of the day, our outputs are, like speaking to one voice. So we talk about the governance issues, networking and communications of global civil society and youth constituencies, and we're talking about the CSCG and the Global Youth Platform, and also the civil society and youth representatives, ensuring a cohesive strategy to RMNCH advocacy and accountability. Also, we also want to talk about facilitating the global and thematic engagement of CSCG and global youth platform leaders and members to enhance collaboration. And also the third use of the envelope is going to be for the GFF program support. So we're talking about other global health initiatives like the Lusaka agenda that we are participating in, that will be supported. So this is talking about the piloting and scaling up of innovative approaches to support civil society and youth that are implemented, and also just to generally monitor, evaluate, and learn the process, and also the reporting of the process. So I think this is it in brief, to say the 18 million has been approved, but we have 3 parts that is going to support, which is grant making and technical assistance, global coordinating mechanism, and the support program. And for grant making, we're talking about the CSCG, and we're also talking about the Global Youth Platform, and we also want to try and infuse other global health agendas like the joint learning agenda that we are participating in. So I'll give over to Jackie. So maybe there are other issues that are going to be very important in this particular process that we're going to be doing. There's the principles of localization, to say we're going to try and ensure that they are localized, within the countries that we are operating in, within the 36 countries. So the model that we may be using may need to be very much localized, within the country platforms, taking into consideration the organizations that are going to be implementing, and also talk of sustainability. I think that's why it's important that we start linking with other global health agendas like the Lusaka agenda, and also flexibility and alignment. Alignment also talks to the issue of, the other global health agenda, so that the GFF is not standalone in country. Thank you so much. I think I'll stop here for now and hand over to Jackie to share about the kind of model that is going to be used. Thank you so much. Over.
Thank you so much, Edu. Thank you so much, Chair, and everyone. To pick it from where Schedule stopped, I'll start by talking more about the mechanism. This has been the main question of how the next phase mechanism will be. It's going to be, for a start, it's going to be hosted by World Bank, where it's going to be independent, not as a mainstream of World Bank. So the civil society and youth mechanism is going to be hosted at the World Bank, and we are going to explain how it's going to be globally and nationally. What does this mean? But we are going to have at global level the civil society coordination group, this very one that we are in now, and the Global Youth Platform independent is going to be coordinated by a firm, an organization that is going to be identified. And this will continue the CSG and the youth engagement independently. or providing advisory and oversight role to the mechanism, or the mechanism, CSO and youth mechanism hosted by World Bank, but also ensuring knowledge and information sharing. So the GFF Secretariat will be playing a role by supporting both the World Bank, CSO and Youth Hub or mechanism, but also ensuring that they coordinate and support the Civil Society Coordination Group and the Global Youth Platform. It's going to have two arms. One arm is going to be the grants making. And also, we already talked about the 18 million, whose dynamics of how that is going to work will be shared later as we move on in the month ahead. But also, we already have an overview of how that is going to be within the 2 years that we are going to talk about more. And then already Shed talked about the principles: localization, sustainability, alignment, and flexibility. This mechanism, why it was approved, and it was one of those, because we had different mechanisms as we shared and consulted with you, but this is the one that is approved. Provides room for looking at the context, just like Shedi said, sustainability, ensuring that we all own this process, alignment with the global health initiatives and other initiatives by GFF, that is the country engagement, but also allowing it to be flexible. When it gets the country grants making and technical assistance priorities, already we talked about this in the previous slides. It's going to look at the civil society and youth advocacy and accountability, coalition strengthening, but also this is going to be anchored on ensuring that the civil society and youth engagement is coordinated, well aligned, and integrated into the GFF country operations. And this was a very critical role in terms of the mechanisms we've had, but also the gaps and how we need to make sure that this is done. The roles, I already hinted on it, but I'm going to quickly touch on each of them. In terms of global roles and responsibilities, the CSG and GYP, they are going to continue they ensure continued implementation of activities according to the governance document, which already is in place, so nothing much is really going to change. Co-creation of the terms of reference for the grants and participation in the selection of grantees. So they're going to provide the TA. We are all going to be part of this, that is through the steering committee and us, the CSG that are here. Encourage alignment across the global health initiatives at global and country level. Then we are going to continue having the GFF Secretariat supporting implementation, ensuring monitoring and evaluation, coordination within GFF and other global health initiatives, stakeholder outreach, and also strategic communication. Then the World Bank hosted CSO and youth mechanism will be responsible for coordinating within the CSG and GYP, consulting on funding criteria and grants making. Then they'll continue to facilitate communication between grantees, CSG, GFF, and World Bank country staff, government to ensure alignment with the GFF health financing. And then they'll be regularly reporting to the CSG steering committee and the GFF investors group. And they'll foster coordination and alignment across civil society organizations. Already we talked about how we need to be. It's going to be tailored to the country context and aligned to GFF priorities in the 36 countries. And it will be impact oriented, but also we already talked about the 3 priority areas, inception grants in new civil society engagement countries. One of the reasons for this increment, apart from ensuring impact, was that there are some GFF countries, especially the fragile communities and fragile countries, that still were not being supported to address some of those unique challenges. So this is going to look into that. And then the 2-year grant, 24 months, I already saw some of the questions coming through. I'm sure that will go to GFF and all of us. Then results-based approach for 2 disbursements. Again, we shall get more clarification on that. And there'll be robust monitoring and evaluation and learning framework to document results and impact. Yeah, so thank you. Once again, thank you, everyone. This was a team effort with Global Health Visions support, GFF, and all of us. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Jackie and Chedu, as well as Cheryl. I think the time we've all been waiting for is here. I know there are numerous questions, some on the chat box. Please remember to raise your hand, use the hand function to be able to speak. As we wait to see the hands, I would like to start with a question. Maziko has a question. And so, because there are people who wrote on the chat box before you, Maziko, let me allow the questions. I will read out the questions, and I would ask that Cheryl and the IG team, please take on the questions that you feel relate to you, so that when we begin to answer, we make use of the time efficiently. And so the first questions come from Amanda. Amanda Livingston asks this, putting a couple of questions in the chat, and I hope we can come back to them later. How or what type of communication will go out to the CSOs, the CSCG steering committee, for opportunities to input into the 2026-2030 strategy? I assume she refers to the GFF strategy. Number two, how will resource mobilization efforts influence the strategy development and vice versa? Since 2025 will be an important year to gear up and make the case for the next resource mobilization campaign. Number three, as 2025 will be GFF's 10th anniversary. Wow, yes, indeed. A reason to celebrate. Are there any plans already in place to celebrate this, or to use this as a mobilizing moment? And how can civil society elevate or support this effort? So those are three very good questions. Let's move to Miriam. I understand that the US $18 million are for 2 years, but will the grants period be longer than this? That is longer than 2? Otherwise, how do we achieve longer grant periods? Maziko, I welcome you to ask your question or make your point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Margaret, Jackie, Oyemi, and also Chicheju, but also my brother, Kenneth, but also the civil society, our GFF, Secretariat for Engagement for Civil Society, Stephanie and Tim. And I want to thank you very much for welcome our Minister of Health as co-chair. And I had a prior conversation with my minister because we were working in the health sector at the high planning level. So I was trying to support her to help her so that she learned very well, and also welcoming our civil society and the youth in the GFF to appreciate what we have done. So I want to thank you so much, our representative, for the good work we have done. I received feedback from her as well. Mine, I think, is on the model, which I've heard, but also I want to thank the trust fund for increasing the investment to civil society to 18 million US. It's not easy to have that. I want to thank you, our representative, but also everyone for contributing towards this feat. Mine, I think, is very on the issues on the, which was commented on around how countries are different. So I'm hoping when we be doing this implementation, allocating resources, I hope we have to agree that countries are different, because looking at the GFF at the moment, they look at impact. So if indeed you want to have impact, we know that GFF has got so many countries, but they'll be looking at 18 million with the high impact interventions. So I'm hoping as the civil society, but also as our grouping, we should be able to make sure that we come very clear and smarter, knowing that we're coming from different level of influence, levels of impact. so that this grant mechanism is meaningful, so that when we, after the period we have implemented, they'll be able to say, hey, civil society lobbied for these resources and it has had a high impact to our communities and people we work with. What is most important, and I'm hoping that this also become very clear, this is for the Secretariat. I'm hoping that our liaison office and focal persons in the GFF countries, they'll be alerted in advance, because sometimes they hear these stories of investment later and we find ourselves maybe trying to knock the doors or maybe want to get some support from them. It doesn't come that easier. Other countries are doing well, but others are still struggling to get the liaison officer and the focal person supporting them, because this investment, we want to see it going the wrong way in having high impact, in linking what countries are implementing, but also make sure there is a high accountability of resources, but also the resources are there to save more lives. So thank you so much, Margaret and Tim, for giving me a chance to share something. But thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor is yours, Robina Bitei. Robina.
Yes,
this
yes.
is your chance. Please go.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The presentations were very, very useful. One issue that is very happy about is the issue of working with the private sector. That means the banks, the corporations, and other private entities. But of course, in Uganda, we have started working with them, but it can also be very challenging. I am just wondering whether there is anybody with a success story where they have worked with a private sector and has made a difference. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Robina. I will take a couple more from the chat box, and we have Migisa Precious, who says it's good that we have had such good support for our youth. I pray that gender balance will also be considered and not forgetting the ones with physical disability. All right. Robina has asked her question, a success story. We also have a question from Chris Armstrong. PMNCH is also working on a new strategy with a similar timeline. Will there be an effort to align these processes? That's a good one. And then I think that those are the two. Do I have another hand raised? Okay, I think let's take those questions. Let us start with the Cheryl, and then we will go to the IG team in order of presentation. Thank you. Welcome, Cheryl, and your team.
Thanks, Margaret. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Very good. And sorry, I'm having some technical issues. So also thanks to the host of this meeting who has, I think, been muting me as needed. So apologies. But let me see. There's a number of really good questions. So we will answer, like I said, as much as we can and can come back where needed. But I will start with Amanda's questions. So on the strategy, we are about to issue the expression of interest. So that's the first step in the process for getting a firm on board who will do the strategy process. I just want to be really transparent in terms of where we are. And once that firm is on board, so that's a competitive process that we will launch as the first step in the next couple of weeks, with looking to have a firm on board by the end of January. And with that, once the firm is on board, that's when we would share the comprehensive engagement strategy for the year. But in terms of already knowing, we would look at the CSCG as an important stakeholder group to engage. So we would also look to see a steer from all of you in terms of the right modality. So we will have an online consultation, but also would welcome some discussions and calls such as this one that would be opportunities to have more engagement, and also we'll have a discussion with our IG reps and alternates in terms of the best way to do that. But just in terms of the timeline and where we are right now, just to say that the firm that will be leading the strategy process is not on board yet. And that's also because we want to make sure that this process starts as we have the final outcomes of the evaluation that I had mentioned. So just want to make sure that we have the right order there, as it'll be really important that the evaluation helps inform the next strategy. On the question on the RM efforts, thanks for it. Indeed, the strategy preparation will be also the opportunity to start preparing discussions and also engage with partners in the lead up to the next resource mobilization campaign, which we don't have set as a date in stone yet, but just to say we would need to look at 2026 as the timeline, because we will need to then be able to raise funding for the strategy. And we would look at some of the costing of the strategy towards the end of 2025. On the GFF's anniversary, and sometimes we're calling it the GFF's birthday, just given the sector we all work in, but we're also equally excited. We're looking at a couple of global moments that already exist to see if there's an opportunity to add on as kind of a campaign that would have a couple of touch points throughout the year. We will also share that in the new year, and very much welcome the support of civil society and the offer to help elevate this. For us, it does feel like a major milestone. We are younger than a lot of the other funds, but we are now, I guess you could say, in our adolescence. So we're quite excited. And I will just go in the order that we had them. So Miria, to your question on the 2 years. So indeed, the granting period will be for 24 months. So that's doubling the length of the grant from before. And the idea is that gets us into the next strategy period. So that way we also avoid a gap. And then looking at what the follow-on looks like from after the 24 months. But for now, just wanting to make sure we don't have any more gaps moving forward. So already doubling that grant size, and then looking to see how we continue to do so in the new strategy. It's also why we want to make sure that the CSO engagement is integrated into the new strategy and we aren't doing a standalone. I hope that makes sense, and happy to dig into that a bit further. On PMNCH, Chris, thanks for the question. It is indeed, there is a lot of efforts to make sure that we have that aligned approach, and also that we're working to our particular strengths and that we're complementing the role of one another. So more discussions there, but also the role of PMNCH in that kind of global advocacy role, and then the work that we do in country, also linking as closely as possible with the World Bank and GFF co-financing projects. And we had actually a bit of a discussion at the IG about this as well. And thank you, Rabina, for the points on the most disadvantaged and vulnerable. I think there's a number of points that colleagues have made, including Maziko, around the criteria, the selection criteria, I think is really what this gets at, right? And just to say, this hasn't been defined yet, the selection criteria for the grants in this period. And I think it will be really important that we capture a lot of the points raised here as that process begins. But I think, Maziko, what you were also speaking to was that kind of differentiated support depending on the situation in country, depending on capacity, what's possible, so I think there's still discussions to be had there, and would very much welcome those. I'm just seeing if I'm getting to any other. On Rabina, your question, I would leave it to the IG colleagues on the other experience. I will say we did have a discussion at the investors group around the GFF's engagement in the private sector, and very happy to share that paper. I think we can probably put the link in the chat in case that's useful, and if there's areas that you would want to unpack further, very much I'm happy to do that. So I think I have addressed the questions for the Secretariat, but let me see if my colleagues from the Secretariat also wanted to come in. Stephanie, Vincent, anything that you wanted to mention?
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. And I leave the floor to Stephanie, but maybe only the question from Chris on PMNCH and alignment. So this is just to confirm that PMNCH is a member of the IG task force that has reflected on this new cycle of engagement with civil society and youth. And they will be invited to join also in the efforts that Cheryl explained, finalizing the detail of this new cycle. So thank you for this question, as alignment was a core principle of the working group who worked on this proposal. So it should be a core feature of this upcoming 24 months. But thanks again for this question, and just maybe over to Stephanie if she had any additional element.
Thanks, Vincent. No, I appreciate it. And thank you, Cheryl. I think you both covered it quite well. But again, here, if anyone has additional questions, I'm happy to answer. But I think for now, I can maybe hand it back over to the chairs. Thanks.
Margaret, before we hand back to you, because I'm cognizant of time, I wanted to mention one kind of unrelated point, but I think an important one for this group. So we just wanted to flag it for awareness, which is from our World Bank colleagues. They mentioned that there is an ongoing voting process for the committee that will sit and make some of the decisions on the Civil Society Policy Forum, the spring and annual meetings, and on the selection process for those proposals that go forth. We will share with GHV and asking them to circulate widely to this group. The nominations, the voting process is open for another week, and they specifically asked that the GFF civil society colleagues that are heavily engaged, it's open to voting for anyone who has participated or registered at the Civil Society Policy Forum in the last 5 years. But we'll send more details, and just wanted to mention that because it's a good opportunity for colleagues to be able to vote, and it's by region, I think, that there's a selection process, but we'll share it after this call. So thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for that. So we will wait to receive that from GHV. Thank you for answering the questions. Do I have any more questions? I do want the IG to respond, if they would, to the question of do you have a success story with private sector? And I think that is open to the floor, because I think that was just maybe for learning purposes or clarification on potential role of the private sector. So that can go to any of the CSO representatives here, including those in the CSCG and whoever else. In terms of the chat box and in view of time, I want to read the maybe 2 messages. I think Simon Bines says, for success story, we have seen great impact in engaging CSOs in advocacy work in DRC. The local government had no strategic plan for SRHR or family planning service or youth and adolescent reproductive health. And YA, that is the organization. YA, as youth-led organization, worked as a pioneer to identify this gap and push for the development of a strategic plan, and also mobilized a network of youth-led organizations into the task force to monitor its implementation. I think, Simon Binney, you may want to maybe clarify. I may not have said it as well as you would. Amanda says, okay, wonderful. That's a good one. Migisa, as a health champion, I have found it good to work with St. Luke Bujuni Health Center 3. I organize my people in social gatherings and they come to attend to inform them of outreach. We have managed to reach far distant areas from the main hospital of Kibale Health Center 4. They do vaccinations, cancer of the cervix, cervical cancer screening, and HIV testing. I found it a blessing to work with them. And so I assume that St. Luke Bujuni is a private facility. If not, please correct me. I think that is all. Migisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume that's one of the success stories of working with private sector. I think I will hand over to Jackie Chedu. Is there any other IG? And Oyeyemi, do you have any last remarks as we move on to the next agenda item?
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Maybe I should just, okay, yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, sorry.
Oyeyemi, go
Jackie,
ahead.
go ahead, then Oyeyemi.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. In terms of the question that Miria asked, whether the grant, that period is going to be beyond the 18 mentioned. Of course, more details as operationalization will come out. But what we meant when we said that they are going to be flexible and sustainability and localization are going to be key factors, whereas we are looking at getting this bid out. We are also very conscious that there are some gains that need to be sustained. When you look at the 3 areas that are being proposed, coalition building, advocacy and accountability, they are not very different from previous phase interventions. So it's very cognizant that the issue of sustaining the impact is going to be very key. So irrespective of how long this grant period in terms of funds take, the aspect of sustainability and ensuring that we scaled up impact is very core. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you. Oyeyemi, over to you.
Okay. On the private sector, I think there was a question there. And for me, I think it's just a matter of just being clear as to how to engage the private sector, acknowledging the fact that private sector are not just one kind of people. There are different types of private sectors. They are heterogeneous. There are private sectors even at community level who are not so corporate, but they are also private sector. And in terms of success in engaging those of, I think there's an echo. Okay, so in terms of how do you engage those at the community levels where the people we really want to reach are, it's about being strategic by identifying them. Most of the private sectors that may have the information on the funding or probably opportunities are those ones probably in the urban area or those close to the government, and they may not necessarily be at the grassroots reaching those that have had to reach or the marginalized population. And so in engaging private sector is to ensure we map right. And these are the things that these are information we shared. These are comments that we shared during the IG, is to ensure that we map adequately well, knowing fully well which private sector are we engaging for what. because of course even the big ones are very useful in engaging and also probably maximizing their technical know-how, maximizing their logistics, what they have to do, their technology and all of that. And so is to ensure that in engaging private sector, we put it at the back of their mind that even though you are going to make profit, but it's generally for public good. And in making the profit, we need to also check the pros and cons. At the end of the day, will this be accessible to those that needs it? And so, yes, it was endorsed, but it wasn't without our reservation and putting it that we have to tread carefully in doing that. And that was accepted by the House. Thank you. Just said to mention that.
Thank you very much. And I think I don't have any more questions on the chat, neither do I see any hand raised. And so I want to believe that we are all satisfied with what we have had. And so at this juncture, I will want to say thank you to the GFF team, the Secretariat, Cheryl, and your team. Thank you very much for your time and for responding to the questions. And if there are any more, we will definitely fill them to you. But at this point, I am aware that you're beginning your day, so let us release you and continue with some housekeeping and and continue as the CS team. And so thank you very much. And we look forward to more information getting churned out of the Secretariat. And as you release it, we will definitely release it as well to the CSCG so that we are all on the same page. Thank you very much for that. And I know that now it is clearer about it's a bit more clear about how what the grants are for, and the fact that it is not just the period is considered because of the strategic planning process to be able to ensure that there is no space, there is no gap. So it is both a bridging grant, but also a grant that ensures continuity and that we sustain the gains that have been made. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day, rest of the day. As you exit, you are free to exit.
Thank you. And thank you,
very
colleagues. We
much.
look forward to speaking again
Yes.
soon. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
take care. Thank you. Bye. All right. So thank you very much, team, for staying on. This is our last agenda item, and this one is just for us to talk about the next steps. And I think for that, I'll bring back Oyeyemi to help us think through what some of the next steps would look like. And of course, Chedu also, please chime in terms of the next steps for civil society and youth priorities for the next 6 months. So Oyeyemi, please take the floor.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Margaret, apologies. Okay. Yes, we only said goodbye to the GFF Secretariat, not for everybody. So hello, everyone. I hope you're still staying here. Margaret, colleagues felt you were saying goodbye to everybody. Goodbye to everybody.
Oh, sorry. I said we are being, oh my goodness. Please, you are 28. Don't go anywhere. We've lost 9. I am sorry. English is not my first language.
Okay.
I will chase them back.
So in terms of next step,
yeah, go on.
Yes. Thank you, Margaret. So in terms of next steps, it would be to continue to shape the CSOs and youth support mechanism, such as grant making. Of course, I'm sure all eyes are on that. And of course, as we get more information, we'll ensure that we update everyone on what that process looks like. From what we've gotten from the secretariat, they're also trying to fine tune until we have the full information, and we ensure that everybody knows that. So the grant making, the technical assistance, the new global hosting arrangements, currently under development. And so we see how that goes. Another thing to look out for is, of course, webinars and information on RFPs for the next phase of the grant making. And so all eyes on, all eyes out to ensure that you don't miss out on such information as it will be shared. And we would also ensure that we share that. Also to recall the timeline in order to engage and mobilize civil society and youths in the GFF strategy. So this is actually an opportunity for us to be to add our voice to the process. How do we want the next GFF strategy to look like? So there will be stakeholder consultations, and as you participate, ensure that you also add to how do you, based on what you have seen, best practices, how do you think you want to influence and inform the GFF strategy? So this is an opportunity. If you have an idea, for anyone that will be consulted, is to ensure that we bring in the views of the whole constituency into that process. And then the form of next step is also in January, there will be call for expressions, right, for civil society organization on the steering committee, as well as the IG. And so the call will be out in January. If you're interested, it's for you to actually express your interest for the civil society and the youth seats at the IG, as well as steering committee, for you to be part of the CSCG steering committee. And so in form of next step, these are the things I have. I don't know, Shedu, do you have additional information you want folks to know about? Over from me, Margaret.
Okay, thank you very much, Oyeyemi. And I think by way of next steps, these are really just what we are thinking, should be taking place in the next 6 months. And so I just want to, unless there's a question around that, I think we have come to the end, and I apologize for members leaving because I was not very clear, or maybe the language, there was a language interference there. Yeah, time really does fly. And so we come to the end, but I want to, to end with a reflection that this indeed is a very good channel for us as CSOs to be able to come together with also the youth organizations, really to discuss the impact that we have in our countries, the ones funded by GFF, and our possible impact. My plea to all of us is that I think we need to look at our membership again and be able to figure out our strategy to bring on board more CSO members, because this is a very vibrant platform that can help us to elevate our conversation and contribution. Considering that we are talking about 36 GFF countries, I think it is only right that we become proactive about getting membership or CSOs from those countries. And so I want to believe that that is one of the things that I think should be also considered a priority for the next 6 months, even as we move on, so that you don't just get people coming in because they are going to apply for funds, but let them come in also to bring their ideas and to cross-pollinate our ideas so that we have a better result. And so I want to thank once again the team. I want to thank you for attending. The members that came in from various CSOs, thank you very much. The French speakers, thank you very much. I hope the translation was good. And if there was an issue, please let us know so that we can improve the quality for next time. Thank you very much for taking your time. Thank you again to GFF Secretariat in absentia. And thank you for Susanna Dennis on behalf of GHV for organizing this. Thank you very much. It has been a wonderful time. And thank you for allowing me to chair this session. and for listening to my voice even when I chased people out. If you find them on the online streets, please apologize on my behalf. And with that, we end this meeting, and note that the recording will be shared in the CSCG YouTube channel, and the reports and anything that has been shared, I think has already been shared, but there is a link to that. There is also the link to the elections. Please, before you log out, could you click on the link, the Survey Monkey, for the election, and do the necessary. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, morning, evening, night, whichever case applies to you. Thank you very much for your time and for giving us your ears. Adios. Bye for now.
Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. See ya.
Bonsoir.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So much.
Au revoir. Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir,
Au
belle
revoir.
fille.
Allez, moi, là-bas.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Suzanne, c'est un plaisir de te voir.
Oui, you remember me.
I
longtemps.
remember you. How are you? I'm happy to see you.
Oui, oui. Maintenant, nous sommes vieux.
Non, tu n'es pas vieille du tout, du tout.
Jackie, Maziko.
Hi, Susanna. We are the host. We have to leave last.
Yeah.
Just in
Thank
case
you.
someone forgot a question.
Why are you laughing, Jackie? Why are you laughing?
Just in case someone came back and had a question.
Responsibility. I love it.
Susanna.
Maziko, how are you?
I'm very fine and you. Long time.
Long time. Hmm?
Well done, Susanna and team, for pulling this through.
Yeah, it's not easy. All the best.
You too.
Thank you so
Lightness,
much.
hi. How are you?
Bye-bye.
Hi, Sus. How are you? Good morning.
Hi,
How are you?
hi, Litness.
Hi, Maziko. Oh, Maziko, it's been a while. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
it's been a long time,
Like it's been
long time.
5 or 6 years. How are
Yes,
you doing?
Oh
I'm
my God.
fine, and you?
I am doing fine.
Yes. So anyway, we'll talk later. All the best, colleagues.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Same to you all. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Susanna, do you need anything from me?
No, I think we should close the room.
Let's do it.
Hi,
I know we-
Gabby.
Hi, Lightness. Okay, well, I thought it went great.
Virtual high five.
I thought it went a lot easier than last time. I'm a big fan of not doing webinars.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I will see you all on the other side then.
Yay,
All
we're
right,
done.
bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.